Welcome to Sports Connection. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. I have with me my co-host, Mr. Tate Mathews. Tate, winter break 2.0 this past week.
I kind of like it. We've had some snow vacations before, but never an entire week. I got to admit, I kind of enjoyed it. It was fun. Did a little cooking, a little grilling, a little watching football, a little work in between. So it was good. Got a good, healthy balance. I liked it.
Now listen to me. There's a couple things. And one of these two you don't really have to answer.
No. Hey,
The first one is
Open book.
this. The first one is this. Your kids are at the age where they can be fairly mobile.
Yes.
You don't have to entertain them. So that's part of your enjoyment. Second part of your enjoyment, when there's a break, when it comes to coaches needing, I need a scorebook, I need one uniform, I need one mouthpiece, radio silent.
It's amazing. As the schools go, we go. So yes, it was much less phone activity
But let me ask you
for the
this.
Tate man last week.
The second we're back,
The night before it starts. And then 5:30 in the morning. You know some of them. We got a couple of them that wake up at like 4 and they think everybody's up and start sending text messages.
well, that's kind of me too.
Not 4. You're
I have the courtesy.
5:45-ish.
I have the courtesy to wait 2 hours after I've been up.
Yeah. Yours start coming around the 6 a.m.
So for you guys that tend to text Tate at 4, you can text me at 4 because I will be up.
You might not respond, but he's up.
I'm up.
I loved it. Did you have fun?
It was okay,
You
but
like to walk your dog,
but
you're an active cat.
I was working.
Kind of hard to ride your bike in the ice.
It's a whole nother story.
Can I get, this will be a real quick
Okay.
sidebar. So my wife's car is really good in the snow.
Front wheel drive, I bet.
No, it will. Both.
Oh,
It
all
gets
wheel. All wheel.
All wheel gets into 4-wheel. And I was like, you know what, man? Nobody will be out there. And so she made her whatever, lattes or whatever, coffee drink with the foam and stuff. And
You said with the foamy stuff.
drove down Hillsborough Road, started at Old Hillsborough Road right by Grassland, took a left, and went all the way to Boston, Tennessee, which is through downtown Leapers Fork, all the way to Coach Wild and I's spot, the Davis Market. It was awesome. As pretty as it was here, out there in Leapers Fork, it was really cool.
So the two of you.
Yeah,
Oh, that's fun.
it was great.
And you had breakfast there.
No, nothing was open.
Oh,
We just drove out there I knew it'd be white. It was cool.
man who was one with nature.
That's exactly right.
Hey, let's talk about this because it's been a couple of weeks since we've been in here. So basically, since nothing happened last week, we backed it all up, but not necessarily just backed it up a week. We had to kind of piece it out. So a couple of things. Number one, January 16th in basketball, those games were moved to Wednesday, January 31st. Second piece of that, the January 19th games moved to February 7th. Now, here's what I sort of like. I like, it's like taking lemons and making lemonade. The rival games will now be Wednesday and Friday of that week.
Pretty
So
awesome.
what are we talking about rival games? We got Nolensville Page, Franklin Centennial.
Yeah. We don't have a Nolensville Page name yet.
We need one because
We need
that's
one.
starting to be
Yes. Okay.
As you can attest, Tate, when we go to those football games, man, I don't know if
Heated.
any fan bases are against one another more than them.
Yes.
Which I kind of like.
I love it. We got to come up with one.
So Battle of Franklin, Centennial,
Border battle.
Border Battle, Indy Summit, and then Battle of the Brentwood Ravenwood.
Yep.
I think that's cool.
I love it. Here's what I thought, and I know you're like this, but that's something I said this weekend, man. Like, and I learned this from my dad. But like, if anybody ought to be equipped to handle this, it's coaches. That's what you do for a living, man. In
Right.
How many times did you have the perfect game plan going into a basketball game, and it completely changed in the
Right.
first minute and a half of the first quarter, right? Like, that's what y'all do, is adapt, and right? So here it is. This is the hand we were dealt. This is the way we're going to have to do it. All right, boys and girls, let's go. Here's what we're going to do.
Let me tell you who really loves this. Players.
Yeah.
Oh, Coach, we got to practice less and play more games? Sure.
The players that play. Now,
It's true. The ones that don't play,
Coach Adelot called them the pregame meal eaters. They don't like it as much.
that's kind of mean of him, but that's
It's awful. And in football, there's more, and it's only one night a week. But yeah, he'd call them the pregame meal eaters.
I like the pregame.
Yeah.
It's the coach, man. I was like, yes. I was in the hospitality room one time eating, and one of my fellow coaches were like, oh, man, I'm so nervous I can't eat. I was like, not me. Maybe I'm a nervous eater, but I'm like, I'm in. Bring on the food.
Hey, man, perks. Right? Take advantage of the perks.
Hey, I thought this was kind of appropriate.
But yes, I think that's awesome, man. So the week of February the 7th is going to be, if you like intense games, it's a good week for you.
Fan bases will love it.
Love it.
They'll
Student
love it.
sections.
Coaches will be stressed. All right, I thought this was kind of appropriate since we were out, and it has something to do with this. Here's this week's gem. Three straight weeks, 3-game weeks.
It's hadn't happened ever.
Well, and I think they'll end up changing it next week. And I was okay with this with the coaches. So in the preseason, last year when they met, they talked about, hey, let's play all the games after Christmas. And I think the thought is, especially with teams with football players, you get them back so late that it's not really a true test of who the best teams are when you play too many games before Christmas. They said, let's just make them all after Christmas, which I think is a good call. However, that required us in an 8-team league to have one 3-game week. But then the weather comes in, and now we've got 3-game weeks. So because of that, I got a suspicion that we'll go to 2
Change it.
before
Yeah,
Christmas.
and that's one thing that was going to say with our larger teams in Region 4 10A or Region 10 4A. These are all region games. Everything left is region games.
That's right.
There's no
District games.
So one district games. Yep. I always football and back. I know.
I know.
District games. So one, there is no not making these up, right? And 2, they're all mean a lot. So that just made already probably the toughest league district in the state even that much tougher. I always like hearing that, if you don't mind. Like, so when you said the coaches kind of put us inside the headset, like, did y'all all get in a room, a Zoom call? How did you?
You talking preseason or this?
No. When during this weather, and you said the coaches would like to. So you're getting input from them. How did y'all come about with the plan for how we were going to?
Well, let's talk about
this up?
this. First of all, we are very fortunate to work in a district where the superintendent, Mr. Golden, he's pro athletics and extracurriculars. He's like, we need to be doing this stuff if we can. So it starts with him. Dr. Webb, who heads up our secondary schools, she feels the same way. Then we got principals, ADs. You talk about it all the time. The leadership in the school is a big part of all this. So what would happen, we would get an update every day. I'm talking every day. Hey, still out, still not out. And then every 2 or 3 days as needed, we had Zoom calls, and it was the basketball coaches, the ADs were involved in it too. But what they wanted to do, which they liked, they said, look, the benefit of us being in the same county is we can do this together, and it'll be equitable in terms of we all play on the same day. And they were great, because let's face it, when you look at the schedule, certain things make more sense for certain people, like, oh, there's an opponent maybe I can beat. And, hey, I suggest Monday. Well, I suggest there was great compromise. I was very proud of the way they interact with one another. And I would say this too. Middle school, we've got the basketball postseason coming up. We've got our area tournament, sectional tournament, turns into the state tournament. The middle school ADs, same thing. They were great. Yeah. There were things that made sense for their school, but they compromised. And that's what you've got to do. So there was a lot of meetings, a lot of updating. Again, we updated every day from the district level. Mike Fletcher, and I know you know Fletch, safety and security guy. His team was out there doing their thing. And so
Fletch didn't get snowed in, I assure you.
No, he's not. No, he's not getting snowed in. So bottom line, we were able to make the best decision possible with them having input, which I think is great.
Yep.
It's always best, I think, when those that are a part of something feel like they have a say-so, and they certainly did.
Yeah.
So I was proud of them the way they handled it. In the same respect, let's talk about wrestling, because they've got their region meet coming up. So Brentwood Ravenwood, they ended up having to move, and as the taping of this show, that still has to happen. Match was supposed to take place at Ravenwood. They moved it to Brentwood. It made sense for what we were doing with clearing parking lots. So whoever wins is going to be the 1 seed from that district. Loser will be 2. And then Summit needed to make up matches with Independence and Page. They decided to do that all at Summit on one night. Again, nobody, and I mean nobody, works better with one another than the wrestling coaches. So they worked that out,
Very cool.
which I thought was great.
Well, let's talk about them.
Was that more than you wanted?
No, it was great. I love it. So what you're saying is the district AD didn't just send out a text, say, hey, what do y'all want to do?
No.
Y'all want to play? Question mark.
And listen, I'm not throwing shade at anyone, and I don't want anybody assuming they know which county this is. But I know some folks in other counties, and I said something to our leadership at the top. Hey, those updates are appreciated each day.
Sure.
Because you want to feel like you know what's going on. Even if it's, hey, no changes today, we're still. I had some guys tell me who were in other districts say, we haven't heard anything. And I said other districts with an S, not just one. And I'm like, man, we might be over communicating. But when it comes to communication, there's no such thing as over.
Are you trying to get me to get my clown hat out?
No, because you have to say who you are. You could say, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Well, anyway, I thought as a district, Williamson County Schools, a leader again.
No doubt. No doubt. The thing that I thought about all weekend or all week is think about how tough this is on the basketball teams, okay? Now, we're fortunate, and a lot of our people are blessed. They can get to, heck, some of our families have their own indoor court, so we can get around and shoot and things like that. But the wrestlers, those guys have a thing that's a part of their sport called weight maintenance.
Yeah, my weight maintenance this past week hadn't been great.
It went totally out the window. I mean, so think about, they got to find a way to stay active, stay in shape, because we're up on it. There's nothing harder. I'm not saying it's the hardest sport. I don't like it when they say that, but there is nothing harder than going 6 minutes, against somebody really good. I mean, that's hard.
And what'd that coach call it? The legendary coach, he said he called it not wrestling, but
Wrestling.
no.
Fighting. Oh, Coach Randy Thomas. Yeah, there's nothing worse than having to go out and fight for 6 minutes. So you got to, those guys and gals, men and women, had to find a way to not only stay in the best cardio shape that they can, they got to control their diet and their food intake.
Right.
And, if it was anything like at our house, what are we going to cook tonight? Anyways.
I did make 3
Stuff.
trips to the grocery store.
Oh, I loved it.
And I love going to the grocery store.
I do too.
I mean, regardless of the weather,
you like to
I
go?
like going.
I like them all.
Well,
There's things at Kroger I like. There's things at Publix I like. I love Walmart.
now I'm going to say this
I'm a
affectionately.
Costco guy. I spread Trader Joe's, Whole Foods. I'm a spread the love kind of guy.
I spread a
Grocery
little,
stores.
but without question, it's dirty Kroger. And for those that know, you know.
And
I love me some dirty Kroger.
You love plugging that code in and at the end and watching that thing drop, right?
I will say this about Kroger, and I love Kroger. Almost every time I have to say, this didn't ring up right.
Ooh.
Check your receipt, man. I told a lady in line one day, I was like, mine's always
Maybe it's
messed
because
up.
you're a dirty Kroger.
Maybe.
We probably didn't get an endorsement from Kroger on this.
I like
Kroger's my number one. That's my number one drive there. But I like the other ones too.
I like to pray. Do you do this? So one of my famous moves, and in my household they give me a hard time about it. They've got that buy 5 of something and you get a better deal. and we'll have like 5 jars of peanut butter like this big.
You mean like when you go in and it says Frito-Lays, you get them for any Frito-Lay chip. If you buy 5 bags, you get 2 for $2.
Yes.
All in,
Or you've
man.
got to buy 5 to get the deal.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you had to get. They send you there to get 1 bag of chips, but then the deal with the 5, so you
I'm getting 5.
come back with some sour cream and onions, some wavy Lays, some Ruffles.
You ever open anything in the car on the way home? Because I've done that.
In the car, yes, not in the.
Well, not in the store.
Well, no, there's people that do it. I mean, it's pretty embarrassing, really. My kids may or may have done it when we were younger.
I may have too when I was younger. All right, let's talk about the standings.
Okay, let's get real serious here.
Okay.
So you're in the aisle, okay, and Miss Barb sent you to get Triscuits, and Triscuits are $3.99, but woven wheats are $1.74.
Oh, this is a great question.
What are you doing?
This is a great question. It depends on the item.
Yeah.
For example, in my family, we can handle the almost Lucky Charms. We can handle those. We can handle the messed up Pop-Tarts, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But when Oreos, no. It's got to be those. It's got to be the actual. So it actually depends on the actual.
What about Kroger chips? Wavy Lays? Kroger
No.
wavy. Really? Okay.
Real ones.
See, I can handle the chips. I can handle the woven wheats. This is true, and I'll stop. This was over COVID.
We need some kind of poll on the show here.
Yeah, I would love a poll on this. So that's where cereal was the deal breaker with my family. So this was over COVID.
You don't like the almost Lucky Charms?
Haven't had them. I'm not a big cereal eater, but the rest of the family is. So, but anyway, so Fruity Pebbles, right? There were no Fruity Pebbles. We couldn't find them. They were not there. And I told Jennifer, I said, just get the Fruity Rocks or whatever they were called, right? And I was like, they'll never know. She's got the Tupperware or whatever. You know, you get them and you pour them in there. So
Yes.
They can't see the box. We got rid of the evidence. And man, so we're sitting there and I can't wait. And Jackson and Jenna get some Fruity Pebbles. They sit down. He took 1 bite. Unless she tipped him off, which I don't think she had a chance to be alone with him. And he took 1 bite and he looked at her and he goes, "What is this?"
It's a texture.
They knew, man.
The texture's different.
They knew.
Some of those that are the off brands, when it comes to cereal, they get soggy quicker. It's like as soon as you pour it in there.
Well, they ain't having the almost Fruity Pebbles. Maybe almost Lucky Charms. Almost Fruity Pebbles.
Hey guys, I got some sort of Lucky Charms. You're almost in luck. Okay.
As Jeremy used to say, if you're still watching,
I'm hoping this week that we have the little thing on the bottom where they can know where to click ahead. All right, anyway, let's talk just real quick. So, again, wrestling, Brentwood, Ravenwood, that determines, and then Summit, Nolensville will end up 1 and 2. It's just a matter of what happens in that particular match. It is. And it's going to end up being, well, I don't know now. Brentwood versus one of those. That's a heck of a match. My gut tells me Summit Brentwood in the region final. Or do you think Nolensville?
I'm going Summit Nolensville.
So how do you think it's going to
I mean, I'm going Brentwood and Nolensville. I'm sorry.
Oh, and no Summit?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. They'll all tell you somebody really good is getting
Somebody
left home,
really
man.
good.
Somebody that might be top 4, definitely top 6 is getting left home.
It's tough, man. Welcome to the SEC.
That's right.
Or in their
Crying
case,
on the yacht.
In their case, the Big Ten. The wrestling folks will appreciate this. I watched a little wrestling this past weekend. A little Big Ten wrestling.
Impressive.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Those guys have really gotten me excited about wrestling. All right, let's talk about basketball real quick. So, again, a couple weeks ago, so folks have to think back a little bit. But on the girls' side, we have Centennial. They're in last at 0-4. Then we've got Franklin, Indy, Ravenwood all at 1-3. Part of that being Franklin beats Indy
Right.
to make them 1-3. Summit is 2-2. Brentwood 3-1. Nolensville Page 4-0. So let's talk about that. At Brentwood. Nolensville girls with a 62-44 win back on January 12th. It may have been you that asked me this. Somebody sent me a text and was like, did Ella Ryan play?
Yes.
Because it was a game at Brentwood, and you're like, well, you would think, 18-point win. You got to give it to Coach Ladd and his squad. That is a heck of a win.
It was a huge win. And I think, 7 tries there at Brentwood or 7 games in a row. Haven't been able to play them. Haven't been able to knock them off. They played lights out. And that, I was going to say, that has to be addressed because that was a huge win, statement win. They're now, as you mentioned, tied at the top with Page, unbeaten in District 10 4A. And that was a huge win, a statement win. Leilani Washington went off. But they, 62 points. Leilani had 22 of them, I think. So the rest of the team played really well too. Yes, and Ella played. Brentwood was they were at full strength. They just got beat. That's a big win. Big win.
Well, let's talk about this. I know we talk about the parity a lot, but you take Summit, who they've done a good job sitting at 2-2, sitting in 4th alone right now. Centennial, their team's 0-4, but when they played, it was 54-49.
Yeah.
And that was at Summit. So
you can throw that Centennial in there with the 1-3s and the 2-2. I think that's a pick 'em every single night.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I do think the top 3 have sort of separated themselves, and I still say before it's over, it's hard for me to bet against Brentwood.
I was going to say, so Nolensville, Page, unbeaten. That's going to take place. I know you're going to get to that. Is that going to take place this week?
Well, so here's what happens.
No, that's one of the ones that got
That's
bumped.
right.
Yeah.
So here's what's tricky. I've said this. You don't really know about the standings until everyone plays each other once. So my thought was, let's get the first 7 games over and then we'll know. Well, now they're going to be starting the second round.
Yeah. Okay.
Before they play some of the.
All right,
you
so
know
that
what I'm
helps.
saying?
So Nolensville and Page 4-0. Page 3-1. You buying or selling? Brentwood's not the best team.
You mean Brentwood 3-1?
Yeah. Nolensville, Page 4-0. Brentwood 3-1. You buying, selling? Brentwood's not the number one team.
I don't totally know what this game means, but I think I do. I'm buying. I think they're 1.
You think they're 1? Yeah.
Yes, I played that right, didn't I?
No, you're selling. You're not buying that they're not number 1.
I'm buying that they are number 1.
Correct. That wasn't the
Is
question.
anybody confused?
Yeah. You still think Brentwood at the end when the dust settles?
Yeah, I do.
You're going with the.
But I think Page and Nolensville are there too, and there's going to be some other upsets. I'll say this: if you look at the teams that are 4 through 8 right now, I think Brentwood's the least likely to lose to any of them.
Well,
that's where I think it might get. But you had said you talked about Coach Kaufman at Page going, we're in the weeds a little bit. And you know what? They still may be in the weeds, maybe even more because of Nolensville beating Brentwood.
That's right.
They're just kind of hiding out.
If that game had taken place, like you said, we'd have a much clearer picture.
Right. Boys side. So we've got Brentwood, who, by the way, I think we talked about this on our last show. Mid-state top 10 that came out, they were in the top 10. They're 0-4 in the league. How'd you like to match it with them? 0-4.
That's right.
And I would say, again, congratulations to Coach Gadice and the Nolensville boys. They swept that night at Brentwood. They also had a win on that night. 56-51 was the score in that one. So Brentwood's 8. Summit and Page are tied. And great win for Coach Burgess and his squad in overtime. They beat Ravenwood on a Derek Smith last-second shot. That was a great win for them. Ravenwood and Nolensville sitting at 2-2, so they're tied for 4th. Then you've got Centennial Indy tied for 2nd. Franklin 4-0 after a big win over Independence. Franklin over Indy. It was 73-65. That game was the WCTV game of the week on that particular week. And here's a stat for you. Great offense that night. It was down. If you like shooting, man, that was the one. The rebounds were similar. The turnovers were similar. All that stuff was similar. Here was the difference.
This will be good.
Independence, 5 for 22 from 3. Franklin, 10 for 23. And I'm going to tell you, Davis Long did as good a job as I have seen guarding Jet Montgomery. I think Jet had 17. still a good night. He earned every one of them.
Yeah, right.
Man, he played great defense that night. Franklin's legit. Their parts really mesh nicely. They don't play but 5, 6 people. They might go 7 on some nights, but it's like everybody's role is nicely defined. Playing well.
No doubt. Well, sitting on top of it. And then don't forget, Independence beat Centennial in 3 overtimes.
3 overtimes. It's nuts, man.
It's nuts.
Centennial's another team where the parts fit nicely together. I was talking to Coach Moore about this. Again, roles seem very defined. Not that the other teams, they aren't. But when I watch those teams, I'm just going, you know what? It just fits. It's hard to explain, but when you see it, you know it. And I would say this back to Franklin. I was talking to Coach Tigert about this. There's a lot of teams that are, I would call them unselfish, and they don't really care who scores. Their team really doesn't care, and they are really, really unselfish.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought a lot of people were sleeping on them
You called it early.
early on. Now, like you said, they're all going to have to play each other again. And I think it's even all these guys get so much pub and they know each other so well. So I know they're cool with it. And if you want to go to college and play basketball, you better be used to that too. I think right now, and I know we got a lot of good ones. If I don't have a vote, but if I had a vote right now, District 10 4A Player of the Year, it's Davis Long.
Wow. So Indy's been giving me heck about this. So Coach Wilkins, I know you're watching. You're going to stop it on this particular part and show Tate talking about this.
Send a text.
I'm telling you, it's.
And some people would say he might not even be the best player on Franklin's team, but right now he's my vote.
It's what he does for the team.
That's right.
And that's no disrespect to any player, but that you're right. Here's what you say. If you took one, here's the way I judge the MVP. Let's take that guy off his team.
Right.
What's it look like?
Yeah.
Nothing against the rest
Well,
of the
think
team.
about what you just said.
Good luck getting the ball down
Throw
the
out
floor.
what he's supposed to do on offense. He had to, and Jet's like Steph Curry, man. The guy, he's moving all the time. Like having to guard that guy.
He scored 2,000 points for a reason.
He scored 2,000, and he's always moving. Like that's a full-time job alone. Anyways.
It is. Tate, so let's talk about some games that are happening this week.
Okay.
I picked a few out to talk about. The WCTV Game of the Week page Summit, I'm very interested in seeing that on both sides. That girls game,
Yes.
the Summit take that next step. Are they one of those games I was talking about that they end up being the one to beat Page or Nolensville? Franklin and Ravenwood on the boys' side in particular, I think that's one to pay attention to, and really on the girls' side too.
Yep.
That'll give one of those girls' teams sort of a step up
That's
on
right.
the other.
That's right.
Nolensville at Independence, and then Brentwood at Page. I'm really, really looking forward to that girls' game.
Yeah, because it could really mess some things up.
Big time.
Big time. And I think you're right. I think Brentwood thinks they're going to go in there and remind everybody why they were picked number 1 at the beginning of the season. So, yeah, those are some really good games. That Franklin, you don't want to say must win, but that Franklin Ravenwood boys game is really, really big for the Ravenwood boys.
It is. I still think, again, when the dust settles, Ravenwood's top 4. I mean, come on.
I think so too, but I'm gonna tell you, man, for some reasons that everybody that follows it knows, like Brentwood would scare me, man. They got some pieces late.
Yes,
they got some pieces late. 0-4. That's not. They're much better than 0-4. Brentwood would scare me come the end of the season.
I want to do something a little different. Obviously, we had a grocery segment. We had a rescheduling game segment.
Almost Lucky Charms.
Then this is going to be another almost.
Okay.
If we had the not, if we had a not the play of the week, what would it be?
It would be Centennial alum, CU alum, Tyrell Dodson, number 25 of the Buffalo Bills. Tyrell's been a backup pretty much the majority of his career with the Buffalo Bills since he's been in the NFL. But now he's the man. He wears the helmet
Yeah.
Yeah.
When 52 went out,
Yep.
they gave him that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
He's one of those guys, and made a tackle for. He was all over the field last night, but he made a tackle for a loss in the second half. That was just a great play, man.
Travis back in the game. It's Edwards-Helaire, and he is falling on right at the line of scrimmage.
Just really cool to see him out there. Like he's not on an NFL team. He's one of the main guys on the defense and making great plays. And it was what a heartbreaking loss for the Buffalo Bills and for him, and so close to making it to the AFC Championship game again. So, anyways, I would go with Tyrel Dotson's play last night in the
Division.
What was it? 20 something. That, by the way,
27-24.
No, but what was the what temperature was in the 20s?
Oh.
They were talking about how like it was almost like a warm weather game compared to last week. But out there in the 20s making plays, and Tyrel making Wilco and Centennial and Mallory Lane, very proud.
So it's the WCTV play of the week.
Yeah, I like it.
Congratulations,
Good job, Tyrel. I know this ranks, and good friend of ours and Dr. Qualls.
I like because he switched to number 25.
I love it.
Because he was 53, I think.
Because back then, linebackers, you couldn't.
Right.
Yeah, but they've changed all that now, and they had position-specific numbers. Now, he could be 25. He went back to it, and I love it.
When's basketball going to be able to wear 8?
Hey, Kobe got what? Or 6?
That's another story for another time.
That one's another one of, you're not going to believe this, but this one really happened.
Tate, good to see you again.
Yeah, man. Glad to be back in the saddle. We're going to have a lot to talk about next week.
It's going to be a fun month or so.
Fun month.
Really is. Thanks for joining us for Sports Connection. We'll see you next time.